All right, good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock, and I would like to call the regular meeting of Kimberley City Council for February 9th to order. Thanks for your attention, guys. Now that we've called the meeting to order, appreciate that. Welcome, Council, welcome staff and our delegation and our gallery tonight. Good to have you back, Jack. Maurice, do we have any late items?
There is no late item, Mr. Mayor.
All right, hearing none, could I have a mover to adopt the agenda, please? Councillor Cairns, thank you. And Councillor McGuire seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Next up, we have the adoption of the minutes of the special meeting held on January 19th. Councillor McBain moves and Councillor Roberts seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. And finally, we have the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on January the 26th. Move it, please. Councillor Fox, thank you. And Councillor McBain seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Excellent. Thanks, Council. So first up tonight, we do have a delegation from BC Transit. We have two individuals participating, one here in the room. Midhat, welcome to Kimberley, to our council chambers, and Danica online. Welcome, Danica. Which one of you will start us out?
Danica will be in the beginning.
All right, over to you, Danica.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
You bet.
Can you see the presentation? Okay.
All right, so you can just advance to the next slide. Okay. So I'm Danica White. I'm the government relations manager for the region, and that region includes the Thompson area, so Kamloops area, as well as the West Kootenays and all of the East Kootenays. I'm the main point of contact for Troy Pollock for the local transit system. Next slide. So as you're aware, public transit is a highly subsidized service. The biggest benefit of the BC Transit model is the legislated funding formula. So just one thing to keep in mind is that there are these sort of two main formulas. The province provides 47% of operating costs for conventional or fixed route service, and 67% for Handy-Dart, which is more of a custom door-to-door service. And Kimberley Transit is sort of a blend of these two types of transit service. So there's also a blended cost share, and the provincial share of Kimberley Transit is 61.69%. So that means the city is left to cover about 38.1% of transit costs. The other thing to note is that all of the revenue from transit does stay with the city of Kimberley, even though costs are shared. So next slide. So there's a well-defined partnership model between BC Transit, the City of Kimberley, and Keolis Canada, who's the operating partner. So BC Transit provides the provincial funding, as well as numerous professional services, including those of Midhat, who's there today. And these professional services include things like owning and managing the fleet, marketing, so things like your rider's guide and the website content, capital budgets and accounting services, and things of that nature, as well as a lot of recommendations, including what you'll hear today. So next slide. So our operating partner, which is Keolis Canada, delivers on-the-road transit service. They hire and train drivers. They maintain the buses, as well as handling the day-to-day customer service aspect of transit system. Next. And the City of Kimberley is responsible for setting local funding through property taxes, setting routes and service levels, as well as setting fares, which is what we're here to talk to you about today. And with that, I will turn it over to Midhat to talk to you about the fare review.
Cool. Thanks, Danica. My role at BC Transit is mainly to look at the different transit systems across the province and look into the different fare structures and figure out if we need to adjust fare structures to optimize revenue, maintain affordability, and figure out how we can attract and retain ridership. And this is what we do through our fare review process, which is something that is done every 3 to 5 years across BC Transit systems. And then when we look at each transit system, when we're doing a fare review, we look at additional opportunities that are unique to the transit system with where they are at today and what we might want to do. For example, when I was looking at the Kimberley transit system, I noticed that we could certainly look to align closer towards inflation. That's a good goal for a fare review. Also, considering other opportunities to boost ridership with the service that is currently offered, and consider the introduction of a new pass, a monthly pass. So just taking a look at the existing revenue sources from fares, we have 61% of our fare revenue coming from tickets, which are sold at $27 for a 10-pack. And then 28% of revenue is coming from single ride fares. That is $3 per trip. We also have funding coming in from the BC Bus Pass program, which is a provincial-wide program to offer a very affordable transit service for low-income seniors and those receiving disability assistance. And also the Youth 12 and Under program offers free transit for any youth under 12 years old. And the province provides that funding based on the number of youth in that catchment area. So I don't know if you can see it, but essentially we have been seeing an increase in revenue year over year, and specifically in tickets, which is cool to see, and cash. Could you just click back onto the PowerPoint? Yeah, like on the slide. Just so that, yeah. Okay. So as part of the fare review, we look at fare review history, and the last time we did a fare review was in, it was effective March of 2013. So Mayor McCormick, you might have been there at that time when the last fare review was conducted, which was 13 years ago. So often we do consider 3 to 5 years, and I don't know why it has been left for so long, but essentially at that time, there were 2 fares, one for adult and one for youth, and one of our kind of goals across the transit systems is to have one universal fare to make it super easy for everyone riding transit to pay one fare. So we did that in 2013. Tickets were introduced at that time to offer a stable revenue source for the transit system, and clearly they've been very popular with the 61% fare revenue from the tickets. So we also aligned the Health Connections fare to be the same as the single ride fare for the conventional commuter service and on-demand service, just so that things are simple and easy to understand for our riders. And the next winter, the Kimberley Winter Shuttle was offered free. So that was the last time that there was a proper fare review. But then something that is to note that the single ride fare hasn't changed since even before 2010, which it's been $3. And if we were to look at an inflation calculator, it would be equivalent to $4 as of today if fares increased with inflation. When we take a look at comparable transit systems, I took a look at other regional routes that offer some greater distance and also offering transit services for a similar population size and ridership amount. And we can see that Kimberley offers the lowest single ride fare compared to the others, which are between 4 to 750. And then a lot of the other transit systems, like Kimberly, don't offer monthly passes, but there are some that do offer that. There are some systems that have UMO, which is our electronic fare collection technology system. And with UMO, we're able to track a little bit better about ridership and user behavior. So the South Okanagan Civil Community Transit has UMO. And so we're able to like dig into a little bit on usage patterns on like how many times monthly passes are used, because we are considering having a monthly pass with Kimberly, and it was about 26 times on average. So we found that was an interesting piece of data to consider. Okay, so another thing we look at is like the total cost of transit service and also total revenue year over year. And we are seeing that as the years go by, transit costs continue to rise, mainly because of inflation, additional costs for maintenance and parts, and revenues just aren't keeping up to support the level of fare recovery from total costs. So it's just like looking at rebalancing the equation. Okay, and then another thing that we look at is our BC Transit Fare Strategy Guidelines. We're trying to align our recommendations across the province to these guidelines, which we have found to be like a perfect blend of maximizing the revenue and ridership based on like industry level standards and research that's been done. So in this case, we would recommend a single ride fare is to be considered a base fare. When we have tickets, we'd recommend it priced 9 times the base fare, offering a one ride discount as an incentive. When we introduce a monthly pass, we would recommend it be priced anywhere between 20 to 30 times to offer that discount for the end user in exchange for paying upfront a monthly fee. And yeah, so anyways, we find that the current fare structure is very easy to understand and it's aligned.
What? The distance.
For the price or the cost. Yeah, in terms of cost, the more distance, it's more like cost for fuel and driver time and like deadheading time of getting the bus back to a route. So when distances are longer, it is more expensive.
Further questions, Council? Go ahead, Council Delabette.
Kind of following suit with Sandra's question here. Also, one thing that I don't see reflected here is like how many how many people are in each of these communities, because like Kimberly is quite small compared to say the South Okanagan, and we got 16,000 ridership. It seems like we're we're smashing it out of the park for using the system and being the shortest distance. Seems like, I mean, like we're getting the best bang for our buck or leading it in some way. So I just, does the amount of the town factor into that at all? Just for the size of the town, I should say.
Yeah, those are great questions. So so typically when we look at transit systems, we have like different types of transit systems. So like a conventional transit system would be considered like a fixed route service that goes, you know, within town. We have conventional like long distance regional routes. So this is kind of comparing regional routes. So like even when you look at we've got a Kelowna to Penticton, And I have ridership at 15,000. It's just like not considering the population centers for each of the cities, but more ridership along the specific routes. In Kimberly, we have a couple different transit types that are offered. And in other places, they're a bit more like expanded. But here it is like a perfect blend of offering those things. So it's I tried to compare it as best as possible across the different types because there are a lot of unique things happening in Kimberly, but then also in some of these systems, there's unique things because so it was hard to put in population as well, or just like that area, because then there was also local transit that had it. Yeah, so this is more comparing the regional.
Further?
Go ahead.
Just one more, so I know that we have special, buses that leave and go specifically to the resort. Does the resort give anything to have that, option? Like, do they help support this system at all, or is it just strictly city?
There's no other partners on the winter shuttle service, so including the
So
resort.
we pay solely
Yeah,
to drive tourists to the resort.
well, the winter shuttle is used by residents and visitors.
100%.
And it's the part of the reason why there's a free fare on that service is the fares are offset by the RMI funds.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor McBain.
Yeah, it's more of a, just a comment. I think the appeal that I see here, with respect to, you know, setting the fares or actually potentially increasing revenue is the monthly pass option in Kimberly. Just considering, I mean, you're looking at these other comparables, which is really helpful. I mean, but this is the Kimberly to Cranbrook is truly primarily a commuter train, right? People go in the morning, people come home, and I think rather than having multiple transactions for people who use that all the time, it'd be much simpler, and I think the ridership might actually increase if we had the monthly pass option, and it also I assume would probably cover you know, there's going to be some times when people don't use it, and you know, when you've got that fixed monthly cost already set in, I can see it being better for revenue. But I just think from a practicality standpoint, having that monthly pass option, I got to think would be very welcome in our community. So thanks.
Thanks for those comments. Go ahead, Councillor Cairns.
For the presentation. I am hearing a lot from people about transit and not any concerns about cost. And I absolutely agree with Councillor McBain about the having a monthly pass being a good option. And this, you know, this probably isn't the moment, but I just want to mention, you know, our ridership is high, and there's very significant unmet transit needs. Seniors, students, young families, commuters, all are expressing that they're very underserved. And there's anywhere between 7,200 and 8,200 vehicles on the highway between Kimberly and Cranbrook every day. And what I hear from people is that having only 2 buses in the early morning and 2 buses in the late afternoon is not serving well, and that there's more trips needed kind of midday, early evening, and on the weekends. And I'm also hearing that about in-town transit in town. So I wanted to make that point, as well as, you know, it would be very nice to see the bus ridership data and to collect input on what is needed the most. So
Yeah.
just a comment for going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the comments, Councillor Cairns. We'll come back to those at the end of the presentation too.
Thank you. So we have just 2 more slides. Okay, so I talked about the fare guidelines and how we like have a fare structure. There's math on how we want to create our options. So now we take a look at our options. So here I've proposed 4 options for us to consider. So all of them offer tickets at 9 times the base fare, which is single ride fare. All of them offer the health connections to be the exact same fare as the single ride cash fare. All of them don't touch the winter shuttle, still offering free service up and down the mountain. And so in option 1, we propose that, you know, if you didn't want to change the price, keep it as is, as it has been since 2013, and just introduce the monthly pass, we'd recommend introducing it at $70, which is 23 times the single ride fare. Actually, all of the monthly passes are recommended to be priced at 23 times. Option 2, we if you wanted to do a small change, could do 50 cents more, and then offer the monthly pass at $80. Option 3 is the one that is would align with inflation. Already, it's been a long time since fares have changed, so it could be completely appropriate to have a $4 single ride fare and then monthly pass at $92. But if we feel like that would be a huge change, considering that there has been no change in 13 years, we could do a phased approach, which is actually what me and Troy and Danica recommend, is we do a small change now at $350, have the tickets $31.50, monthly pass at $80, and then in a couple years, it could be 2, it could be 1, it could be however you feel. Offer a increase to inflation at that point, just so that we have kind of a pathway of where we're going. We're making financial decisions now to support a increased revenue over time, which will support like more justification to be able to add more service hours potentially, knowing that we have like better cost recovery and like fares are covering the cost of transit. And of course, I see a question. I just wanted to add that, of course, we could just not offer monthly pass at all and just consider adjusting the fares for single ride and tickets. And if I could just do my one last slide before the question is in terms of timeline, I'm here today to request a decision, but even if a decision isn't made today, it's made at the next council meeting. We'd be looking to do a marketing campaign that over the spring, just to ensure that residents are aware of the change and know that it's happening, doesn't take anyone as a surprise. So we'd be at the earliest looking to implement a fare change in June, but it could certainly be later. But we'd look to do it at the beginning of the month if we're trying to do a monthly pass, so that we can have like the monthly pass available for the entire month. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. And if we have Danica back on the screen, she can also take any questions.
Thanks very much for that. Troy, did you want to make some comments at this time before we kind of open it up for questions?
I think that's actually a really good summary, and I think probably maybe best just to see if there's any other questions and get into it that way.
Right. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Councillor McGuire.
Got it going now. Yeah, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the monthly pass change based on the numbers. I just don't see numbers around ridership on the Kimberley-Cranbrook commuter to know whether we're trying to increase ridership there. And if we're already near capacity, essentially we're decreasing our revenue stream from that service because we're not going to get more riders on there if it's already at capacity. And my assumption is if you're riding a Kimberley-Cranbrook commuter that you're commuting to work, which means you're probably using it more than 22 times per month. So it's really not increasing revenue. So I'm just curious if you have looked at all of the data and across the number of services that we provide to really justify the move to a monthly service.
Yeah, that is a great question. I'd be happy for Danica to jump in at any moment, but I just wanted to say we did try our best to look at the data. It is hard to really conceptualize ridership with the information that we have available with a non-UMO system. but we did look at it, and we do think it will increase ridership and get more people who don't transit that much to like more consider it as an option. But yeah, Danica, did you want
So,
to add
so do we have average numbers, average daily numbers on per bus going to Cranbrook and back? Is it half full on average, 3/4, full?
I have
Do
more.
have
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead,
We-
Danica.
Thank you. We do have monthly ridership counts for each route, and you are correct that the Kimberley-Cranbrook commuter is often nearing capacity, which is why we are seeking expansion funding from the province to increase service on that route, to add additional trips in the morning and the evening. And we will be finding out whether we get that provincial support from the province on the provincial budget day, which is February 17th. So at that time, we will be able to know whether the city of Kimberley was successful in receiving additional funds to support expansion of that service. Midhat is correct that monthly passes do tend to encourage additional ridership. Right now, we may run into some challenges on the Kimberley-Cranbrook commuter. One of the reasons it was suggested is because that is a common, piece of feedback that we get from users, is that they would like to have a monthly pass for convenience or for a little bit of discount as a regular rider, and the choice is ultimately up to you. I will say that there is a plan in this year to look at adjusting the times of the Kimberley-Cranbrook commuter and the Health Connections route, which does the same trip, to try and manage that capacity and maybe move some hours around so that we can ideally offer more service at the times when it's needed, so that we can be on top of managing capacity.
Councillor McBain.
Yeah, thanks, Danica. That was my comment about the monthly pass. I think there's that intangible piece that that we do need to consider is just offering some convenience to people who do use it all the time. You reduce the number of transactions that you have to do each month. And to Councillor McGuire's point, agreed. There could be some maybe minimal gains with respect to the revenue portion of this if we offered the monthly option. But I think we kind of want to push the envelope. I think we want to make the message even more clear about needing more ridership. So I think if it's if the buses are packed, that's still a good sign. I think I share your concerns on that revenue part, but I think the more people that use this, there's an argument for taking some cars off the road, and it does force the hand a little bit more too, to say, hey, these buses are at capacity. We can't stuff any more people on them. We need a few more routes. And if the monthly thing helps to do that, and while providing some convenience, I think that's great. The last point I'll make too is at first when I saw that phased approach, I was kind of like, why wouldn't we just do 26 and then 27? But when you have to factor in the notification period, like the 12-week notification period, 26 will pretty much be halfway over anyway. So I think that 28 phased approach actually makes a lot of sense. So done talking now.
Thanks for those comments. So if I may, a comment and then a couple of questions. So with the capacity on the commuter, kind of where it is right now, I get a lot of feedback from people who would use that service more if either there were not just more trips, but maybe more capacity, because those are pretty small buses. And the fear right now is that somebody takes the bus, because there's only 2 trips, they take the bus into Cranbrook in the morning to work and can't get on the bus on the way back because you're not guaranteed a seat. And there could be a lot of one-way folks going from Cranbrook up to Kimberley at those particular times. And that is limiting the usership. And so if we're at capacity and there is a fear of adding more users, we can either add more trips or add a bigger bus. So the first question is, what's involved in adding a bigger bus?
A great question for Danica.
Thanks. So I'll take that one, and first I do acknowledge that there is that perceived fear about not being able to get on the bus to come home. And I will say that no one has ever been left behind. And the bus operators and Keolis Canada who operates it would ensure that nobody is left behind. They may have to stand on the bus, but they will not leave anyone behind because of the, that very sort of fear that you're mentioning, that it is the last trip of the day and that people may not have other options to get home. And so one of the things we are looking at again is expanding service on that route. The city has approved a request, and we're again waiting for the province to provide their share of the funding. And if that funding materializes, we would move forward with additional trips in the morning and the evening. If we're not able to do it through an expansion process, we would be looking potentially at reallocating some service to try and move some trip times around, and ideally be adding another trip later in the evening to relieve some of those concerns. And
So fair enough. But what does it take to get a bigger bus?
So I'll mention one of the things that makes Kimberley quite efficient is that you have a small fleet and each of the buses does all of the jobs. So you have a single bus and it might do a commuter run in the morning, and then it's doing a health connections trip, and then it's doing a lot of the in-town on request local service. And you gain efficiencies by having a fleet of vehicles that is able to do all of those jobs. And if you had bigger vehicles, you would want to gain those same efficiencies by having an entire fleet of bigger vehicles, which means that when your in-town local service is driving around doing that sort of curb to curb local service, you'd have to be doing that service in a bigger bus as well, which typically means you have a lot of empty seats. And that isn't ideal. The optics of that is also sometimes challenging, to be running empty buses around town. And then it's also limited from a more logistical routing perspective, that a larger bus wouldn't be able to get in and out of some of your streets in town to be going to some of the places that it currently goes to now, which in a small bus can, go in and back out, and it's much more nimble. So those are some of the considerations, and that is the reason why you have a single-sized vehicle, single-size fleet, because the next option is large 35-foot heavy-duty vehicles.
So fair enough, Danica. I would say though that what you skew towards is a cost-driven efficiency infrastructure as opposed to customer service. And I think we're selling ourselves short on the opportunity to move people back and forth from Cranbrook to Kimberley by taking that approach. Anyway, just a comment
yes, there is often a conflict between cost effectiveness and customer service. And
my last question had to do with the proposal in front of the government right now. Has a business case been submitted with that? Or is it just simply, we want more money for Kimberley? In other words, how do we stand out from everybody else in needing that money?
So BC Transit submits a service plan every year to the province with funding requests for existing service, to secure existing service, and then also to request additional service for service expansions, such as introducing additional trips on that Kimberley-Cranbrook commuter trip. And I know Kimberly has made that request in the past and not been one of the successful systems to receive that provincial funding. And I will say that the repeated requests does, I'd say, to give you more priority compared to other systems when provincial funding is available.
Thank you. Councillor McBain and then Dunneback. Councillor Dunneback, go ahead.
I just want to say, I love the idea of a monthly pass for all the people that are living day to day and they can budget that in. The one thing that I notice as I see them driving around all the time through town, which is awesome, I just see 3 blank canvases that I feel could be sold and collect revenue for advertising for local businesses, linking BC Transit with local business. I think is a huge missed revenue that could keep the ridership at the same rate or less, and you guys actually make more with a rotating revenue coming from local businesses. Just a thought and a comment.
Thanks for that, Kevin. Councillor McGuire, then Councillor Cairns.
Yeah, just a couple quick questions. One around the, it's come up a few times, I forget what it's called, the online app thing that track emo, yeah, whatever it's called. I'm curious whether this monthly pass requires that, whether you're planning on adding that to our system at any point. And the other question was just whether there's any examples or any ability for a small community like us to partner with a bigger community like Cranbrook for those bigger buses, whether it's been done or whether it's possible, and how we lobby for that if it's not.
I'll take the UMO question, and then Danica, maybe you want to take your question. Okay, so we don't need the UMO app to be able to offer monthly passes. Before UMO, which was only introduced in 2024 across 30 communities, we had physical pass products, and we still do in lots of smaller systems. We wouldn't want to introduce UMO at this moment just because it would add an additional cost and layer that this transit system doesn't need. So it'd be a physical pass product that you could purchase at existing vendor locations, just like tickets. It would say January, February, March, and be utilized for the month that it is sold. And yeah, we can manage orders for like how much quantity that the system needs and work with Troy or the operating company to make that in place. And then, yeah, Danica, if you wanted to talk about partnership.
Did you want to
Sure,
make
so
a comment on the partnership question, Danica?
Sure. So we do see some innovative partnerships around the province to deliver service that works for each individual area. And if there is a desire to partner with Cranbrook to see if there is some efficiencies that could be leveraged, or some interesting sort of schedule or fleet sharing or something that could be done, I'd be happy to speak with Cranbrook about that and arrange some communication between staff from the cities, from each city. It would certainly require the city of Kimberley's fleet to expand to be able to accommodate this request, but they certainly might be willing to work with you on figuring out how that would look.
Councillor Cairns, and then we'll move on, and there'll be further discussion when we get to this item in a couple of minutes.
Thank you. I'm thinking that we need other revenue sources with the provincial budget that is coming down. We understand that will be an austerity budget, so not expecting anything coming out of that. And I'm just want to put the idea out there that if I think people would be willing to pay that inflation aligned amount. I think that riders would be willing to pay more for more service. So just as a thought to put out there, but I think that we need to be finding other revenue sources, because I don't think we can rely on the province coming. But
all right,
thanks very much.
All right, thanks for the presentation, guys. We really appreciate it. We're going to kind of get into the meat of this in a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the City of Kimberley Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw. It's that time of the year again. And the motion on the floor is that council grant the first three readings of the Kimberley Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw. Councillor Roberts moves, Councillor Karen seconds. Krista. Go ahead. Tell us what we're doing here.
Okay, thank you, Mayor McCormick. So a revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw allows municipality to borrow money to cover routine operating costs until expected revenues are received. The city routinely adopts these bylaws, but rarely needs to access the funds. It's simply a precautionary measure in the event there's a delay in receiving property tax revenue.
So we're operating for the first 6 months of 2026 without any income coming in. And
Correct.
it starts to come in with property taxes on July the 1st.
That is correct.
So in the event we run out of money, we have the ability to borrow it.
That's right.
Shouldn't say that. In the event we run out of cash, we have the ability to borrow it. All right, cool. Council, any questions on this? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks, Krista. Okay, next up is the Kimberley Transit System Fare Review. And the motion on the floor is that council approve fare change option 4, which is the phased approach as the preferred path forward. And other pieces as identified in the staff report. Councillor McBain moves, Councillor McGuire seconds. Okay, Troy, you want to make any further comments?
No, I mean, I'll just explain, recommending the phased approach in option 4 there. We view that as maybe the best balance of all of the options to consider. We know that many customers have been requesting a monthly pass option. And there's always a lot of uncertainty about how much that will actually get used or what the revenue impacts of that are going to be on the system overall. And then just the fact that it's been quite some time since the fares have been adjusted at all, and I think there's definitely some merit in increasing those fares given that consideration. But it's also trying to recognize that maybe we can sort of soften the blow a bit by phasing that increase in over a 2-year period, and I guess on top of that, I'll just remind council that all that information was very clearly presented. There's the sort of the 5th option of picking any one of those 4 options identified in the presentation, but not going with a monthly pass, I guess. So just make sure that's clear to council. But yeah, at this time we're recommending that option 4 to phase in the increase and including a monthly pass option, and we can kind of see how that works, and we can always reconsider in the future and correct course if we need to.
Yeah, just a reminder, I guess, that 100% of the revenues coming in go to the city of Kimberley. Councillor McGuire.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I'm comfortable with this, and I'm also comfortable with a full increase in the first year. I don't think that this is going to stop our ridership.
Councillor McBain.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the only reason I like the phased approach is kind of precedent. We've had numerous issues kind of like this where we've had a backlog or not charging the right amount for a quite amount of time, and we've kind of always erred towards the phased approach, which I think has been somewhat welcome. I don't disagree with you at all. I think people probably could take the fare with inflation, but I'm just doing it on precedent. That's all.
Further comment, Council? If we want to do the $1 increase now, we need to defeat this motion. That's not a friendly amendment. We'd have to defeat the motion and then come back with a second motion. Go ahead, Councillor Cairns.
I guess just considering, would there be a possibility of improving putting an extra trip on if we actually increased right away? Like there's no, it's not going to make any difference in terms of service. And Okay, so I'm in support then of the phased
Yeah.
approach. Yeah.
Without the monies coming in from BC Transit, yeah, we have to wait for that. All right, further council? I'll call the question then. All those in favor of the option on the floor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. All right, thanks again for the presentation. And thanks, Troy, for the work on moving this forward. Okay, next up, we have the Regional District of East Kootenay referral for bylaws 3446 and 3447. The motion on the floor is that council direct the manager of planning and sustainability to respond to the RDEK bylaw referral as follows. Interests unaffected by proposed bylaw, with the additional comment of a wildfire hazard assessment report prepared and certified by a qualified professional, and completion of mitigation work to reduce hazard rating is recommended prior to subdivision. Mover, please. Councillor Cairns, thank you. Councillor Roberts seconds. Any comment on that, Troy?
Not too much. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's a proposal for rezoning that will lead to future subdivision at the kind of eastern edge of the city boundary. No significant effect, I guess, that we anticipate, but I just want to make sure that we have a chance to provide our comment to the regional district.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Council? Go ahead, Councillor McBain, then Councillor Dunneback.
How big are these lots, Troy?
Um,
I'm just trying to find it in here, but my
yeah,
glasses
it's
are
in there.
dirty,
Sorry, I'd
eyes are
have
sore.
to. Second, sorry. I'm not finding it right now. They're larger size lots, but
They're measured in acres.
yeah, they're where is that?
I think the minimum, again, I don't have it in front of me here, but I think the minimum the minimum sizes for that area, according to the RDK bylaws, is 5 acres. It can't go smaller than 5 acres without going through the subdivision process.
So they would maintain that they're 5 acres always and not
No.
subdividable,
No.
period?
No, they can come back just like anybody here in request subdivision
Okay.
at a future point. The plan right now, pardon me, as I read, pardon me, in the staff report, is that each of those lots is going to be given to the kids in the family. So the parents are going to maintain one, and then the other 2 will be given to the kids. Go ahead.
Yeah, and just, this is a quick clarification. I know it says it here, but I just think it's important to punctuate it. So this has nothing to, this is outside of that Taylor's Mill development, which is city land, correct?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
outside the municipal boundary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I think the zone that's proposed there is RR2, which I think means it could be as small as 2 acre lots, but I believe they're slightly larger than that than what's proposed. Yeah.
2 hectare? Yeah. 2 hectare would be the
Sorry.
smallest, Councillor Dunneback. 2 hectare be the smallest. Yeah. So 5 acres. Yeah. Okay, further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next up is the individual travel expense grant application. Motion on the floor is that council approve the application submitted by the members of the Kimberley Curling Club's Team Reynolds to direct staff to process a payment of $500 as authorized under the Community Grants Program. Councillor McBain moves. Councillor Karen seconds. Any comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. All right, next up, we have the authorization for the AKBLG convention attendees. And the motion on the floor is that Council authorizes myself and Councilors Cairns, Fox, McGuire, and Roberts to attend the 2026 AKBLG convention to be taking place in Trail in April. Councilor Cairns moves, Councilor McGuire seconds. Any further conversation? All those in favor? Did you have a comment? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, it's your speaker probably, hopefully not the microphone. Okay, next up, we have the corporate strategic plan progress update. And the motion on the floor is that council receive the report. Councilor McGuire moves and Councilor Fox seconds. Jim, take this one.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can speak to this. So it's hard to believe, but we're in the last year of this council's terms. We're starting to think about things like the election, obviously, newly elected official training, and following that, strategic planning. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to provide a bit of an update on the progress that's been made towards the achieving the strategic priorities that were laid out in the strategic plan that was approved by council in 2024. The document that's attached, it was by no means intended to be all inclusive. Everything that's been done under each of the strategic priorities. It's really, as it notes there, you know, kind of a 30,000 foot view of the corporation's progress towards the goals established by council. And keeping in mind, the last election was October 2022. This strategic plan, we got a bit of a late start on it. It was approved in December, was it 2020? Yeah, December 11th, 2023. So about a year in. So yeah, I really just provided for council and the general public's information. I'm not going to go through this thing in any great detail. I'll just hit a few of the highlights. And that's what I asked senior staff when I sent out the request to populate this document. It was really just some highlights that we could put in here to inform everybody of what's going on. So there was six strategic priorities identified by the council in the plan: infrastructure renewal, financial accountability, environmental stewardship, inclusivity and civility, economic resiliency, and risk management. So I'll just hit on a few of the highlights. Infrastructure renewal. We've invested nearly $22 million in the first 3 years of the plan. We've got another 18 million planned for investment in 2026 towards renewal and repair of infrastructure. Financial accountability. We were successful in securing $81 million in grants. With the effort was to pursue grant opportunities to increase non-tax revenue. About 66 million of that was related to the wastewater treatment plant, but even given that, it's been a pretty successful period for grants, thanks in large part to our manager of community development communications and the good work that she does with senior staff to submit the applications. Environmental stewardship. There's a number of projects there. I'll just hit on the active transportation network plan. We've managed to take on 3 fairly significant projects out of that. We've got Rotary Drive that's planned for 2026, which will be another great project, assuming we get the grant funding for it. Inclusivity and civility. The big one there, I think, is there's a bunch of good stuff there, but the creation of the accessibility and age-friendly the plan, anyways, yeah, bunch of good stuff in there. Yeah, economic resiliency. We submitted an application on October 2025 to the Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program, which is, if successful, will be used to engage a consultant to undertake an economic capacity review. Risk management, something we don't often talk a lot about, is the good work that's being done to improve cybersecurity. And there's a whole laundry list of items that the IT department has put into place over the last 3 years to help secure the corporation's information. So yeah, again, just a bit of an information document in the last
All
year
right.
of the term here.
Thanks for that, Jim.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. Hanging in every single one of those categories, actually. So I wanted to just make a comment about the grant, about grants. And I know there is a lot of opinion about grants and reliance on grants, you know, at the municipal level. But, and I know when I first ran for council, I was, you know, part of what I talked about was I was sick and tired of nothing ever happening without a grant. And we had to do better than that. And what I've learned over the years is that it's not quite that simple, because the preferred method of monetary distribution from the federal and provincial government to the municipalities is grants. In other words, that's what they've chosen to say, okay, here, cities and towns, this is the way we're going to give you the money. The problem with that is that we have to be ready and know about the granting streams when they're announced, and we have to be ready because they're competitive. There is never enough money in the granting pools to satisfy all of the requirements, and we have to be there first in order to increase our probability of getting our fair share of the grant money. And this is where Pam Walsh has really stepped to the front in not only making sure that granting streams are identified so that senior staff can get the proposals together to be able to, for those submissions to happen, and then the quality of the submissions going in and the work that staff do, in particular the senior managers responsible for that area, the work they do ahead of time so that when those grant streams are announced, we're ready to rock. And I think, as Jim was saying, that's one of the biggest reasons why we have been getting our fair share and maybe a little bit more. So kudos to staff for all the great work they've done. And we've been able to do a lot of work over the last number of years because of the amount of the grant money that we've been able to secure. All right, any questions, council? All right, hearing none, call the question on. Okay, Sue, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thanks for the progress update, and it's really helpful to see this laid out under our strategic priorities. And I do appreciate it's a high level overview. I do have a couple of questions just because this is the only time we actually see this kind of laid out this way under those strategic priorities. So just under kind of the risk management piece, I was interested to see the identify areas for climate change adaptation and mitigation that, you know, there's no mention of drought backup plan in case of an extended drought. But I know that we're working on these things and that there's an upcoming water supply study. So I just, when this is out there, I just wanted to highlight that. And also, you know, I would expect to see some reference to consideration of, extreme weather events, those types of things in that category, rather than it just being limited to the stormwater and flood mitigation. So that was a comment. And then, really happy to see the under environmental stewardship, the work laid out that's happening in the watershed, and a reference to valuing natural assets for inclusion in a future asset management plan, which is a great opportunity to place a value on our water source and its stewardship. And comment on the water conservation side. Great to know that the environmental student ambassador is continuing. Would love to see more visibility at, say, community events like farmers markets, festivals, block parties, that type of thing. And I was super pleased to see the piece on economic resiliency and the progress that has been made with working with partners to find creative ways to service those lands. So yeah, and really appreciate the great work. So thank you. And just that timing piece of being in our final 8 months really of this council's term and having an opportunity to kind of take stock of where we're at. So yeah, appreciation for putting this together. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments, Councillor. Okay, call the question on receipt. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. We have 3 items for correspondence receipt tonight. Mover, please. Councillor McBain, thank you. Councillor Fox seconds. Any comments? Go ahead, Sue.
So I saw the numbers come in from the library, and I just wanted to make sure that the public had an opportunity to hear that as well. And great to see those numbers laid out, and it's pretty impressive to see the in-person visits per week, 571 in 2024 and 638 in 2025. The public computer sessions, 101 in 2024, now up to 315 in 2025. So that's per week again. And yeah, very, a large increase in new patron registration as well. So I just really appreciate that the library followed up and provided those numbers, and they're quite impressive, especially with the limited funding and space that they do have, doing amazing work. So thanks.
All right, thank you for that. I would like to make a comment about the letter from the Mexican government with respect to their appreciation for the work that organizations in the community did following the Meechin Creek disaster. I guess there's no really other way to say that when a couple of Mexican citizens were killed at the creek. This letter that is here on correspondence is one of several that were sent out. It's a sample. This one happened to be sent to the RCMP to our corporal Kletzel. Sorry, I'm thinking about 2 things at the same time. This one went to Corporal Kletzel, but there were similar letters that went to Search and Rescue, Bighorn Helicopters, Victim Services, Police Dog Services, the Police Dive Team Consultation, Coroner Services, Funeral Services, and probably a few other organizations. And I don't think we fully appreciate when something like this happens, the breadth of the call that goes out to the various organizations around town to play a role in trying to minimize the effects of disasters when they happen like this. So kudos to all of those involved. You guys did a great job. And as council could see from the letter from the Mexican government, everybody is really appreciative of how we rallied behind it. Okay, call the question. All those in favor of receipt? Any opposed? Motion is carried. All right. Any councillor items tonight anybody wants to speak to? Go ahead, Councillor Cairns.
Sure. I'll just mention that that the Kimberley Nature Park Society, that John Henley has stepped down as president and he remains on the board, and the new president is Jessica Harvey, and the vice president is Eva Boringer, and Andre Powers, Sharon Warcroft, Dave Hale, Tim Chapman are also continuing on the board, and Maurice Fritz has been hired as the new operations manager, community engagement and fundraising coordinator. And the nature park, extends its appreciation to the city for its ongoing commitment to the society's values of conservation, education, and recreation, and is looking forward to continue to work together to manage the park on the city's behalf. And the nature park is an exceptionally unique and valuable asset to our growing community. So that was expressed from outgoing President John Henley. And then I also just wanted to make mention of the Trails Group Roundtable last week that was attended by the Nordic Club, the Trail Society, Tours on Kimberley, Friends of Lois Creek, Freewheelers, Orienteering Club, the Wildsight Forest School, and YCC, and CORE, and the College of the Rockies, who together have formed a partnership in support of sustainable economic growth while strengthening the region's outdoor rec tech sector. So I think people have probably seen an article in the paper. It was quite an interesting, very quick meeting, and efforts are underway to develop a vision and identify strategic priorities, and noting that the demand for trails is growing very dramatically. And so it's important to be proactive, set things up well, so they aren't negatively impacted. And that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sue.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. I met together with the president and acting manager of the Chamber of Commerce earlier in the month, and they are inviting new directors to consider becoming directors of the chamber. There's been quite an outflow of people whose times have expired, and they're looking at putting together a brand new kind of approach, a new kind of shaking the eaves, if you will, and see what falls out so they can make things going forward very organized and sustainable as their members move in and out through their tenure. They had a really nice turnout of people, lots of questions to be answered, and they've got a really good heartfelt group of people who want to make this work out really well, and together with their discussions with the city and how they want to move forward, I think they've got a really good chance of making that happen. So I wish them all their good luck.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Roberts. Last call. All right, did we call the question on correspondence? Yep. So we have several in-camera items tonight. Mover, thank you, Councillor McBain, and Councillor Karen seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. We'll take 2 minutes and then head in camera. Thanks for being here, Jack.